Welcome back. Welcome back to Conversations with the Commissioner. I think you know who I am. Yes, I am indeed your commissioner, Delonte Smith. And folks, we've been hitting them, one out of the park, the next one out the park. And I think this one's a grand slam. And why do you ask me? Why is this a grand slam, commission, out of all the other ones? Because today we mobbing. We're talking to none other than BFBA Mob owner himself, Randy Arias, the one I think we've all been waiting for. So, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, let's bring him in. Randy, the mob owner himself, sir.
Yes,
How are
sir.
you?
Doing great, baby. Doing great, man. Appreciate you doing this, taking the time out here to speak to us owners. I'm really enjoying this league, man. It's really going big places. I see the vision. Let's get it going.
I appreciate this, sir. I mean, you've dressed for the occasion, sir. Like, I mean, we are the mob, so I feel like this is mob attire. You know what I'm saying? And you know what? Before we go any further, I feel like there needs to be a declaration from the mob. We need to know who the mob is, sir. So I want to give you the floor to talk to the other owners, sir. Let me know what the mob got to say.
Well, it's chip or nothing this year. You heard? Personally, man, I've been in playing fantasy sports for about a good 20 years now, right? And the camaraderie, the networking that that you've created with the chats, and just the overall just feel is just it takes the whole fantasy sport to the next level. The mob is pretty simple, man. It's a culture. We out here, we finessing, we trying to grow. We look toward the future. And it's chip or die, man. It's about winning, man. The quote months, regular season numbers don't matter, and right now it's chip or bust for the mob. And I'm liking the way we look. This week, I'm sure we're gonna discuss it later, but I'm in a difficult battle this week. I love it. Quite honestly, man, it seems like the females are giving me the most smoke. A couple of L's that I took this year were flukes, and those brothers know. They don't want to see me any prime mob, health and things of that nature. But I personally think, man, that what you're doing, and with the cast of characters that we have in our league, man, it just creates some kind of, I think the shit talking, excuse my French, is really important. You know what I mean? I apologize. And you might have to edit some of this out. But, I think that the mob can't be beat.
Well,
I think it's out.
let me, sir, first, I want to give you an applause for the mob, because I feel like, the energy that you bring, and the competition that you bring deserves that bit of applause. I will for today. I'm gonna rock with the mob, sir. I'm gonna rock with the mob.
I'm sure you're gonna throw some shade at me. You got a little.
No. From conversations with the commissioner, I bring nothing but love. This is nothing but context from the league. This is all historical fact. I want to throw no shade or throw no lies out here, sir. And let me also compliment, go Knowles. That's a whole nother conversation that we can't have this season. But let's get into let's get into the conversation, sir.
For sure.
So, as the owner of the BFBA Mob, how would you describe your overall strategy when you're drafting players and you're managing that roster throughout the season?
Well, I'm a bit of a foreseer. So I kind of look. My draft strategy is pretty simple. It's loading up picks between the second and third round to kind of get those mid-tier players that may not be on the people's radar. Analyzing data, foreshadowing youth, understanding how the league format is, moving forward, and seeing, and basically just making sure that I have proper balance on my squad. This year I drafted a little different. I went away from the little guards, and didn't and I felt it hurt me my first couple of games this year. I think a big trade that I made for Van Fleet helped recently, because I literally had stuck with 2 PGs, and that was a different strategy from what I've taken forth throughout the course of my fantasy career, going bigs most of the time. And this year I went wings. I guess the Knicks kind of got me hyped with the wing stop thing going on. I went heavy on wings. So you look at my roster, you see a bunch of shooting guards and small forwards, a lot of versatile players, on both sides of the ball. So it's a lot of gut. It's also analyzing how other people are going to draft. I have to say, I do talk to my other fantasy managers to get in their ear, to kind of get an idea of where they're going to draft. I do throw a little bugs in their ear, kind of get their vibe and see where they're going to go, and feed off of that as well. I, personally, man, it's all about the future, I think, right now. But I got to win now. I'm hurting. My championship loss is still sitting on me 2 years, and this jacket with no patch is not really feeling right.
Well, the jacket looks fantastic, sir. The BFBA apparel is coming out looking really, really nice, and hopefully one day we'll get a patch of that jacket. I mean, with an impressive record, overall of 52-10. We're talking 3 seasons in the league. If we count this season, this is the 4th season. 10 losses overall, right? You made the playoffs 3 out of the 4 seasons since you've been in the league. What is the key to having consistent playoff appearance? I mean, you talked about the team. What else?
Well, health. The controllables are what you have. Is making sure your finances are in order, so that you can consistently work that roster. You guys touched on it, I believe, with Donald's interview in regards to those late season wire pickups, and having that flexibility on your roster to make those pickups, is very important in regards to sustainability when it comes to playoffs and things of that nature. But the uncontrollables are obviously health. I had to make some adjustments to my roster based off of that. Was frowned on in the league for a short period of time. I think I got smoked for about 2 weeks, maybe a week and a half. Thank you for saving me, brother. But I think you also got to look at other teams' needs as well. If you could fill a need for them, and they could fill a need for you, and it works, you throw it out there. The trade offers that we're getting as of late have been horrible. I get it. People feel that I've been finessing for the year, and I get it. I'd feel that way too. But now, man.
I don't have a question on this, sir, but I think we can touch on a part. I mean, the trades that have come your way have been fantastic, right? Like if I'm in the position of owner of BXBA Mob, you're sitting pretty when you're holding Antetokounmpo and Embiid, and such likes of players that you have now. I don't want to go in full detail of your team, just as a slight bias, right?
No doubt.
Because
no doubt.
It's so good. But how do you feel, or how do you think like you're able to really like piece together these super teams? I mean, it never feels that the mob isn't a competitor.
Well, I mean, it takes a lot of studying, knowing the game, knowing what's going on in the league. I every day I'm analyzing, data myself, in regards to plays that I need to help me take it to the next level and get that chip that I need. But it also requires that you got to be you got to be open to listen. You're listening, and quite honestly, I'm always open. But I'll be quick to tell you if it's a dud or if you're wasting my time, or enough is enough. I get it. I also get, some of our other fantasy owners may be a bit hurt because I got players that they had. And they want back.
Yeah.
And it doesn't work that way. Once they mob forever. It's a culture. It's a lifestyle.
I agree. I'll just really switch. When you become a sham god, we the gods. So I think that mentality, that mentality is that's championship mentality. When they sign that contract and they put their name on that dotted line, this isn't I'm not renting you. You belong to the mob, right?
Sure.
Fantastic.
In all actuality, I like to see them do well when they do go to other squads. It's kind of like the Knicks culture. You're a Knick for life.
That's very true. When you leave the sham gods, I hope you give nothing to who you go to.
Yeah.
I'm now going against Brad currently, and he has Julius Randle, and I feel like the hurt girlfriend. To see somebody who won a championship for me put up 40 points against me. So I commend you, sir, but not over here. So we talked about, you said it briefly. You made the finals in your second season. We can go a little deeper into, who that was against. But what do you believe contributed to your success season, and how do you feel? Or should I say, how did it feel to get that close to a BFBA championship in your second season?
Well, I started off the year really hot. Man, I think I carried one L to late in the season. Then the injuries started piling up. Man, I was excited, man. I didn't think I had it in me. To be honest with you, for being such a new member, and everyone, kind of settled into the league already at that point. But I was able to build a decent squad together. Made a couple of trades. I think obviously, the Ayton for Embiid trade that I made with a previous owner was a big move for me, especially for the future, for that year specifically, because Embiid did carry me for quite some time. Now, I think, this is just me coming, that there are certain teams out there, right, that are hating on me, that are doing a lot of shade. I'm getting a lot of shade. I'm getting a lot of blocks on trade offers that that other brothers is proposing to me, and other owners chiming in on deals. I get the whole putting stuff in the group chat might not be I that everyone needs to know their role is stay in their place when it comes to moves. Now, my championship run was very heartbroken. I was heartbroken at that. Losing to Dante DiVincenzo on the last day of the year when I bid on him, and didn't have the bank. Just didn't have the bank. And you bankrolled them, and you took it to the took me out. It hurt. I was hurt. It ain't gonna happen again. I didn't like that feeling.
Well,
I didn't like
it. It was an honor, I will say, sir. To from a commissioner standpoint, it was a great battle. The numbers were really good, and it really gave suspense because earlier in the week I was down. Just to give some context of exactly what we're speaking about, Randy and I in the 23 season were in the finals. That was his second season, and I did win the championship that year. But I won on a Sunday bid of Dante DiVincenzo. They gave me 62 points, which kind of can go into some context of what we talked earlier about having that bankroll. We have certain owners that are sitting at, $200 currently in the season, and we are in December. We don't end until March, or we go into the playoffs in March. So there's some concern and worry on a commissioner standpoint if I were that team to be, have such a low bankroll as early in the season. But I mean, they're competing, so I think this is exactly what Randy's talking about, that maybe would have propelled him into a championship. Hey,
it sure was an enlightening experience. Because quite honestly, this is the only league format that I've ever played with when we have to actually bid on free agents.
Yeah.
So learning that, my second year, it definitely highlighted the uniqueness in regards to the league, and which kind of brings the energy and the juice.
Yeah, that was not that anyone may care, right? This is not my conversation. This is yours, sir. But that was something as I was looking to kind of like, grow this league, is how can we make this a competitiveness down to, the finances, right? Like you really are getting into like not so much of how you run your bankroll in real life, but like, hey, if you're frugal with your money and you're frugalist with your money and you're all over the place, you can find yourself in a tough position where you got a really great team, but you can't do nothing at the end of the season.
Yeah. You also have to analyze, in regards to the team and how well they're going to be this year.
Mm-hmm.
I learned, it does, having those top tier stars don't always pan out toward the end of the year because, there's a lot of rest coming down, if they're locking playoff spots in and home court advantage and things of that nature. Now the league stretching their format out in regards to playing games and things of that nature, making more teams eligible for the playoffs in the league, obviously would strengthen our ability to have those players toward the end of the year. But it did hurt me, having, seeing Giannis having to sit, toward the end of the year, and missing a game during a playoff matchup and a championship matchup, and then me having to pull it, hit the wire up and pick up some bum that's going to just drop 12 for me that night,
Yeah. I want to commend you though, sir, because you gave an amendment to the league that I think really has helped us, right? Which was, if you don't make the playoffs, you can't pick anybody up, which really gives that wire just to playoff teams. And you kind of being in a position of making the playoffs, I now know that I am competing against 6 other players, right? Or I'm sorry, 7. I'm competing against 7 other owners for these players. And not every owner is going to go into the wire. So I got a better chance of making some moves. But I mean, you really have to know the league and know kind of who's out there, right? Because those guys that are giving you maybe 12, 15 points in the earlier part of the season, those are your 30 to 40 point guys at the end. And if you're not in the wire, if you don't know, hey, let's move on. I got another one for you. This is a great conversation. In 2024, so last season, we just talked about second place. We finished 6th, right? What were the lessons that we took from that season, and how do you think they've influenced you this season?
One word, Embiid. He had to go. He held me down. He didn't finish strong last year. He sat, came back for the playoffs. He made my whole year. So good riddance. That's one player that I won't move for. But it's pretty simple, man. I mean, it's like I said, the controllables are, managing your budget, analyzing the players, knowing the health status and things of that nature. The 12 p.m. deadline in regards to waiver pickups is also key, knowing that, and understanding what teams like. An example, a perfect example is Middleton came off the IR yesterday. He hasn't played for almost a year, I believe, for the Bucks. He dropped 30 something last night for me, points wise. He actually played a lot of minutes, surprisingly, right? I threw him in a lot of trade offers this year, as a throw in. as a throw-in, just to make and a lot of these fantasy managers were shot against, you know, Middleton. And Middleton was the nail breaker. You know what I mean? And right now they may be regretting that.
Yeah, that's a benefit and a disadvantage that we have in this league. And if you're watching this, I think you may want to start open up, because a lot of players, great players, will go up for trade when they're hurt. And there are many owners that will deny you, they will shun you, they will say he's done, I want nothing to do with him. And when he comes back and he's healthy, they're knocking at the door.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I'll be honest, because I've done it as well, right? I now ride the Embiid train. You know, I'm currently sitting on it with IR, but it's a, if you're not gonna take my damaged goods, don't come for my baked bread. Right?
Exactly. There you go.
You know, you got there's a give and take here in this league. So I think you've made some, man, you're dropping some keys, sir. So we talked about 2023. We've now talked about 2024. I've asked this to a few other owners, right? Where is the mob? Because today we mobbing, right? We mobbing today, but where are we on the road? If this is a book, what chapter are we in on that BFBA championship?
Man, right now I like the way my roster looks, head to toe. I think having some flexibility with right now with my last man on my bench, giving me that waiver wire pickup on a day-to-day basis is going to help. Knowing how the league is designed now, with players resting on back-to-backs, and just the general sense of, from the experiences that I've had playing in the playoffs and knowing how teams are going to probably here's an example. I'm going to stay away from a Celtic right now. I wouldn't trade for any high key Celtic. Just, if you're going to send me a Celtic trade, just carry on, because they're going to own the best record in the league, and they're probably going to skate into the playoffs. And toward the end of the year, I guarantee you they're probably going to be rested. Mm-hmm. You know, and I personally know from the experience of the battle with you and I had that guys like Braun on Denver and guys like that are just taking that next step in regards to their NBA careers are going to have tremendous fantasy value coming down the stretch, because these are guys that are going to play 38 minutes a game. These are guys that are going to play, you know, against the worst team in the league, you know, and you got to kind of foreshadow it. You got to see it. You got to make it happen. Now, I'm still out here looking for a guard. I need a guard. I need another guard. Point guard. But it's got to be right for both parties. You know, the mob is chip or bust, but I'm still out here trying to finesse.
That's fantastic, sir. That I man, like, you know, we're doing something here where, like, you know, you're giving, if somebody watches all these episodes, you got yourself a championship, because the experiences that we've had as a league, you know, to really sit there. I mean, this man, folks, this man just told you the keys, and I believe him. You know, if this was a Bible study, man, you took it to church, sir.
That's what's up.
That was fantastic. I you know, I hope that, and I mean, maybe I'm a bit biased, you know, because I said this to Val last week in our last week's episode. I'm going to say it to you, sir. Like, the God's willing to take a step back, you know, to propel somebody with great experiences you have within this league to a championship, sir. So I commend you, and I wish you a championship. But before we can get to that, let's get to this next question.
Go ahead.
All right. So you're in a close matchup, right? We talked about it, I think, earlier. You're now currently leading by 97 points against Valer Davis, who's owner of the Valar Margulis, last week's, you know, guest. What are your thoughts on how you think you're going to secure this win this week?
She's cooked.
Oh,
yeah, she's pretty much cooked. I analyzed the next 2 days. I mean, barring Luka going for 120 tonight, she's pretty cooked.
So let me ask you a quick question, sir. Do we know if Luka plays on Sunday? Because there's a myth
Probably
within
not.
the league. Okay, so I'm just gonna jump in here. There's a myth within the league that says if Luka plays on Sunday, the matchup is over. So I'm checking league sources right now. We're just gonna say
Joker played Sunday. She's cooked.
Luka does not play on Sunday, sir.
Mm-hmm.
So
Cooked.
I won't foreshadow anything. I just want to be in a commissioner standpoint here. So I may the best team win and salute to you, sir. That's
But that point total in regards to our matchup is pretty impressive. And I have to say, I feel like I'm bringing the best out of the league, man. If you look at a lot of these top performers, like these guys, their best performances are against me, and I'm kind of sick of it.
I've felt that way many years, sir. I'm glad to not feel that way this season. But yeah, I do feel that. It's like they seem to always play great when they come up against me.
Yeah, man.
But you're winning.
Yeah, and man, and that's the most important, I think. I mean, I do make fun of a lot of other teams. I mean, I'm starting to look at community involvement in regards to my organization, making sure my team, my players are showing up to their engagements on time and things of that nature. I'm clocking in on curfew, things of that nature. They have to meet the brand. But it's all, you also got to be a player's coach and got to understand there got to be a little leverage out there to have them turn up a little bit and spend those ones every now and then.
Hey, I think everybody runs their team a little differently. There's a transition that may be happening teams, but there's an expectation that a community warrior is something that some of us in the BFBA want, and I appreciate that.
I do too.
Who would
Facts.
you say within the community of the BFBA has been your biggest competitor?
I mean, I really can't tell you wins and losses in regards to personal matchups. Probably up in all facets. I mean, Nap had my number earlier in my career, in my run. Said I don't have one. I think it's smoke with the entire
Oh,
league.
okay.
But now I would say this. The females in the league, I tend to lock in a little more. I have to lock in a bit more with them. Not sure if they're, how, but they're making good moves. They're hitting the wire, and they're making me adjust. It's not a set your lineup week, more or less. It's more, it's a check your lineup every day week when I'm playing these ladies. And they got squads, and they're well managed, and they're getting healthy.
Yeah.
So they're dangerous.
I've spoken to both of the ladies within the season, and I think they both touched on something that's poignant in both. I'm sorry, it's poignant in both of their teams. And I don't know if they've had a conversation about this. Is that they're homegrown, right?
Mm-hmm.
Their teams are they'll hit the wire every now and then, but they've picked players that are going to give them 20 to 30 points on a given night, every night.
Yes.
So that's they're tough to go up against. The only way we really get a win on those teams is if they're injured. We just touched on Valerie Davis's team. Valar Margulis if Luka plays on Sunday, all bets are off, right? We've seen it many times. Just to give you a quick point, sir. You are 53-10, so the overall history record, right? You hold the record for 6-1, 6-0 on a lot of other teams within the app. Yours, though, sir, of who your biggest competitor would be, is Kyle. Is Team Nap. It's a 3-3 record overall. So
His team is buns this year, though. I'm not feeling his strategy.
Well,
Mr. Nap he's tweaking.
I'll leave that for your opinion in our conversation with Mr. Knapp. But there may be some competitors that out there that maybe one day we'll have the mob's number. But right now, There's only been 10. You know, put up two hands. I can count your losses here, sir.
Wow.
That's fantastic, right? So you said it a little bit. Are you an analyst guy or intuition guy?
I'm a bit of both. Um, I you know, I started getting on this daily gambling tip, so my data analyzation on a daily basis is getting a little more consistent. And then also cross referencing some of these tools that you utilize for your gambling, for your fantasy. A lot of times I'll set my fantasy lineup in a FanDuel fantasy just to get a quick update in regards to health, and because just the way the app presents the players, it gives you all that data right there. It's a one sheeter. Just have to punch in the name, versus having to click to find the necessary information through NBA.com or things of that nature. So that would be my data analyzation right now. Is kind of cross networking and the gambling with the fantasy. But the gut, and I'm a big college basketball guy as well. So getting that number one pick, I'm excited next year, man. And everybody's kind of I've been talking Cooper Flag. But there's some sleepers in there that Cooper Flag might not be him. It may not be that one, but that one is also out there. I'm dangling it out there.
Let's talk about that pick, sir, because that's kind of what started the big snowball that we now have of the trades that we had. Jalen Williams, no, Jalen Green, Jalen Johnson, Jalen Green, the number one pick for Joel Embiid, an number one eighth pick. Am I missing something else in that trade? Like, how did we swing such a massive deal? Because that kind of can go back to what we talked about earlier. Some would say the season was dead before that trade. We presented youth, we presented a number one pick for the future. We presented from the DC Hustlers, if just to give some context of who made the trade. How did we swing that?
Trav was thirsty. He came. He hit my line, and he proposed the deal. Honestly, the picks weren't even involved at the initial trade. The only way the trade was going to happen is if the picks went through, and that was my counters. We swapped picks. It was that simple. Once he said okay, I put it in the group chat.
Fantastic. That is. We just got some behind the scenes details here, folks. Those are some details that we needed to put in context. But thank you for giving that insight, because I want to say, I mean, we've talked about the trades, Randy, and I'm gonna be honest with you, man. Like, they're blockbuster after blockbuster, and they come at points when you're like, man, we got them, right? The mob is no longer an issue. And then boom. And sir, I applaud it. I'm going to continue to applaud it. I hope it brings you some form of a championship. We've talked about being in fantasy sports for 20 years, and that deserves some appreciation here in the BFBA. We've had a great conversation. I got two more questions for you, sir. This has been an awesome conversation to sit down. What have you enjoyed most about being a part of the BFBA community? And how would you describe the competition among owners?
I love the camaraderie, man. That's my biggest thing, right? Right now, I think, oddly enough, man, I've never physically met not one person in this, in this league. I feel like I know said from a trash league that we joined on ESPN, random league. It was a random league.
Really?
We didn't even know each other. It was just a random league, and we cross networked on that. Like my family has met said before me. I don't even,
That's beautiful.
They were at Knick games together. I mean, at Knick Magic games together. it's kind of, you create that brotherhood, and I feel like I know you guys well, and
Yeah.
I'm hoping that you guys get to know me a little better
Yeah.
as we go along. So the biggest thing is the camaraderie, man, and the friendship, and mind you, the talking crap and the trash talk is all love.
Oh, of
That's
course.
all love. If I'm not talking crap to you, that usually probably means I don't like you.
Yeah.
And that's just how I grew up in the project hallways. Snapping and cutting ass is what we do. And I love it. I love every piece of it. I love laughing at you guys go back and forth. I was in VA. I missed a lot of smoke. I was heading back home, and I was going through all the chat, and I was like, wow, you guys were going in.
Yeah,
I
that
like
was
seeing that, but I like seeing that energy when I'm not around. That because I ain't got to stir it up all the time anymore.
right. We shared the award for certified shit talker 3 weights between Cedric, myself, and you in our 10th season award. So it's nice to see that kind of, the WhatsApp is really where it's at.
Yeah.
You sleep and it's gone, right?
Yeah.
Like, you got to play catch up. Man, I really want to. This is a beautiful story that we're kind of bringing together here, because to know that you and Cedric met randomly, and then to know that you have a connection with Kyle, that I went to high school with, and now there's Felton, and Travis and I have known each other since we've been 5 years old. So to know that everybody has these connections and they are growing on their own, man, it's beautiful. It represents these trees that are behind me in the complex, right? Like,
Yes.
we are growing, as these trees are, man. That's beautiful. That's I hope the league is listening, because we're doing something really fantastic that one day I believe the world will applaud, and it'll start right here on this. Last part, we got an expansion. 2026, we're bringing in 2 more teams, right? We're bringing in 2 teams. We're splitting the conferences up to 4 conferences. I'm gonna break some news here too, right? I think, like, hey, if you're watching, hopefully you're getting some breaking news. Not only are we splitting the conferences up into 4 conferences, we would then present you with a conference championship for winning your conference. So now, when we start the expansion draft, after the expansion draft, we'll have a random draw. You'll have 24 hours to then move conferences if you want. Once you're locked in, you're locked in, until the end of that season. But whoever wins their conference will then receive either a small patch or something. We'll do something for them jackets, as conference championships. So
Don't
what
run for me, guys. Don't run for me. Don't run.
what advice would you give new owners that are coming into this league?
Well, as a new owner, first off, check your ego at the door. First and foremost, because we about that smoking here. We gonna talk.
It get heavy.
So feelings are not optional in our league. You check that at the door. You can get in your feelings when you leave. So that's the first thing. Second thing is, obviously you got to analyze the draft this year. The draft is going to be really stacked this year. Top tier. This draft is probably going to be one of the better drafts within the last 10 years, 10, 20 years. In regards to at least the top 5 picks, from what I see. And know what's going on in college basketball. Make sure you draft appropriately to sustain longevity. And be open to trades. Be open and make yourself better. Understand that it's a process, and you have to look toward the future at times. And odds are you probably aren't going to be good right up front. Don't let that discourage you, and just understand that you got to have a strategy and a plan in place, and make sure you're drafting accordingly.
Sir, I've said it. I'm going to continue to say it, sir. Thank you. Thank you for sitting down with me. Thank you for taking the time out. Thank you for being, who you are for this league, the energy that you bring to this league. The mob. Hey, ladies
We
and gentlemen,
mobbing.
We mobbing. This has been a conversation with the commissioner. Thank you, Randy, for sitting down with me, sir.
Appreciate you always, D. Keep up the great work, brother.
Fantastic, sir. Will do. Do you wanna before we leave? I mean, you want to let the people know where can we get at you, or hey, get at me in the WhatsApp.
Yeah, you get at me in the WhatsApp. Pretty much I think we're all social media buddies now. You know, at the end of the day, you know, let's just keep the good energy going, y'all. Y'all already know I'm him, and you know it's gonna be tough. Good luck for fighting for second place this year.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, this has been a conversation with your commissioner, with the owner of BFBA Mob, Randy Arias. Thank you, sir.
We mobbing, y'all.
We mobbing.